up in the comment sections, smiley faces, just so I know that this material is serving you. And absolutely, if you are loving what you're hearing, please feel free to share it with others so they can get support with knowing whether or not their dream is realistic or not, or if they're just being unrealistic. And if you want an article on how to stop self-sabotage, 5 ways to stop self-sabotage. I wrote this, along with this idea. Are you being unrealistic? Put the word realistic in the comment section, and my team and I will make sure that we get that to you. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Felicia Searcy. It is my joy to be your partner in believing. I have had the honor of serving the dreams of thousands of people literally around the world. In fact, I just heard from this amazing woman. I think she's in Johannesburg, South Africa, where she's been taking what she's been hearing on these lives and beginning to apply it, and things are beginning to change for her. So it is my joy to be your partner in believing right now. So I have an agenda to help us stay on track. So here's the title of this: 3 ways to know if your dream is unrealistic. Again, my name is Felicia Searcy. Put realistic in the comment section if you want an article on how to stop self-sabotage, which part of that is looking at your dream and saying, oh my God, this isn't realistic. Hey, Becky, great to see you. All right, Becky, you know what it is to dream into a dream that seems so unrealistic, and nevertheless you have been willing to stare it down. So I'm starting a bit of a new thing with these lives. Every month we're into a theme, and it goes along with the formula that I have created, a very structured formula to walk you through creating what is it that really brings you alive. And this month, the month of May, we are dedicating the month of May to the design portion, designing your dream. We're going to take each month between now and October, when we're going to bring it all into culmination in my at my event in Torrance, October 5th, 6th, and 7th. So go on and put that on your calendar, because you're going to want to come. So this month we're starting with the theme of designing your dream. And today we're leaning in and asking, are you being unrealistic? Is your dream unrealistic? All right. So if you're liking this, comment, share, drop little hearts, in the comment section, thumbs up, so I know that this material is serving you. And again, if you want an article on how to stop self-sabotage, I don't have to say it to be able to teach it, to be able to help you. Put the word realistic in the comment section. Okay, so how do you know? How do you know if you're being unrealistic? You have this idea. It excites you and scares you all at the same time. And it's just stunning how almost simultaneously. So let me tell you a story. I remember when I really first started getting granular with this application. Jean, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I was studying, I began to study what I call the laws of the universe in a very tactical, granular way. I had been studying this for decades. In fact, I was teaching it. I was doing a good job, and I wanted to bring such a heightened, greater degree of awareness, not only to myself, but to the people that I had an honor to be able to work with. So I began to work very systematically, and very similar to what I'm bringing you here, with a highly calibrated mentor. And I began to lean into one particular area, which was the area of my income, that I wanted to increase my income. And I thought, well, maybe I want to double it. So at the time, my personal income for the work that I was doing was right around $50,000, $60,000. We were in Tennessee. It's a decent income for Tennessee. My husband was doing really well running our business. But I knew I wanted to build a workout where it would create a much greater degree of impact, and it would show up in the form of my income. That would be evidence. That would be a piece of evidence. Obviously not the only evidence, but it would be a piece of evidence as to whether or not, in fact, my work was making a difference. So I took an index card, and I'll never forget this. I wrote $100,000 down on that card, and it's like, and this is what happens. It's like, oh my God, my whole body went into shock at the thought of that figure. And that thought immediately popped in, oh my God, that is so unrealistic. You're being so selfish. You're being so greedy. The voices started chattering. So I immediately took my pen and I crossed it out and I put $90,000. Like the universe is going to make a big, like it's a thing, $10,000 is a thing for the universe. And I stuck it in my drawer. And what's bringing this to light to me as we're in this question, is your dream unrealistic? Is that 5 years ago, during this time period, my husband and I packed up our moving truck and we moved from Tennessee to California, something that felt completely unrealistic at the time. And I found that card and I giggled when I saw that card, because not only did I hit the 6-figure mark, but I had way surpassed it. And now that's like a distant memory. But it so struck me. And so, whatever the dream, whatever the desire is, that when you think about it, it's built into the design to have that, oh my gosh, can I really do this? Who do I think I am? Now, it's not built into the design to water it down, but that clutch of what am I thinking gets triggered when you start thinking something unrealistic. So step one to know whether or not your dream is unrealistic is to realize there is nothing unrealistic that you can dream up. There's not a single thing that you can dream up that would be unrealistic in the realm of the universe. Now, I get it. You don't know how. It was fascinating that when I wrote that $100,000 down, I didn't have a clue as to how I was going to do that. In fact, it was so far out of my realm, I couldn't stick with that. I had to water it down. I mean, my nervous system just went into shock at the thought of it. So I had to water it down. Just because I couldn't see it didn't mean that it wasn't possible. And I'm living proof of that now as my ability to serve people around the world and my income has continued to grow exponentially as evidence of that. Know that just because in the moment, the very thought of whatever your dream is, and so, as I'm looking at the list of the dreams that those of you that are on this, that I know your dreams, the dreams of having a deep, loving, intimate relationship, the dream of building out a worldwide business that impacts thousands, maybe even millions, the dream of having vibrant health when you've had chronic health issues ever since that you can remember, the dream of looking at your bank account and having a delicious amount of savings or investments and discretionary money that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, may feel so out of your reach right now, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. I'm a huge fan of looking at where humankind has come over the millennials that we've been here on the planet. And I'm a big fan of flying. If you look behind me, let me see, go this way, you see all the little lights. But I like that because that picture behind me is a photograph taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. Now think about this. That photograph was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, and it's an image of the birth of a star. 500 years ago, we used to believe that the sky was a dome and the stars were pinpricks in this dome where the sun, was shining through these little pinpricks, or whatever it was that they believed. To imagine that we could actually create something that would allow us to shoot into outer space to the edge of the universe. Now listen to this and apply it to your dream. Let's not just let this be a nice, warm, fanciful story, but as I'm sharing this with you, apply it to your dream. That the willingness that people had at a time, and I want you to see the picture in the background, that people were willing to entertain the seemingly impossible long enough and sustained enough for them to be able to hear ideas that, as they acted on those ideas, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit, the methodology revealed itself, unfolded, and caused them to then bring it into the facts of our lives. So we are surrounded by evidence that says there's not a single thing that you can think up that the universe knows how to do. There's nothing that's unrealistic in the realm of the universe. So let's just, number one, just know there's nothing unrealistic in the realm of the universe. It may feel unrealistic to you right now because you can't see how, and you may have a really hard time bringing your believing along, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. The other thing to realize, and I'm going to keep bringing you back to this, is to understand the nature of your desire, the nature of that idea that causes you to catch your breath. Am I really able to do this? There is a life force streaming through you. There is this creative force that wove you into existence from the very substance of itself. You were designed from the very energy of love itself. That energy must expand. It must create. It must procreate, and not just in human form, but in the form of your creations. So when you start tapping in to this stream of intelligence, into the energy of this idea that causes you to kind of catch your breath a little bit, what you're entering into is the holy conversation. When you're willing to entertain something that seems unrealistic, effectively what you're doing is that you're starting a conversation with the source of life itself. It is a holy conversation, because that seemingly unrealistic idea is the way that this stream of life, this force of intelligence, wants to expand and express by means of you and grow you into an even greater sense of awareness of who you really are and what's possible for you. So we could stop here, really, because you don't really need the 3 tips. You just need to know that there's nothing that you can think up that the universe would look at, oh my God, that's unrealistic, can't do that. I mean, we can fling a machine into space and take a picture of the edge of the universe where stars are still being born. But heaven forbid, you can't have the love of your life. You can't have vibrant health. You can't have a sense of financial freedom to be able to give and go and do whatever it is that you want to give and go and do. You certainly can't build out this business that will help so many people. You are just being unrealistic. I mean, it's just kind of crazy when we think about that conversation. So it's to realize that when you really begin to entertain something beyond what you can see in your current state of thinking, you're entering into a holy conversation. So if you liked that, put a thumbs up, put little hearts, put holy conversation in the comment section to really ground that that's what this is about, whether you're watching this live or the replay. And if you want my article, to stop self-sabotage, put the word realistic. I should have put unrealistic, but put the word realistic in the comment section and we'll get that to you. All right, so step one, realize there's not a single thing that's unrealistic in the realm of the universe. All right, so with that being the case, then let's get to step two, which is change the question. So if you're asking the question, yeah, don't you love it, Jean? I mean, really, when you think about that desire at your heart, I mean, it should take our breath away when we think about that. The desire is love saying, I want to get to know you more. I want you to get to know me more. Let's start the holy conversation. So if we're changing, if you know, we're answering the question, is my dream unrealistic? And we know that the answer is no. Or should I just be realistic? And the answer is no, you should not be realistic. And no, your dream is not unrealistic. And yes, it's possible. That then leads to the second tip, the second way, and we're beyond that, but this leads to the next step, which is change the question. So now we have to change the question. And so the question I invite you to ask, when you think about this idea that there's a part of you that's going to fight it, you know, remember there's a life force that's always inviting us into more of who we are, more of how we're meant to live, more of an awareness of just how loved and supported and cherished and enfolded we are. That it is, as we get that, then as you think about that idea, to ask yourself, am I willing to trade my life for this idea? And that word should be willing. Am I willing to trade my life for this dream, for this idea, for this prospect, this unrealistic prospect? Because the only thing that you have to give is your life. And you're going to trade your life for something. Think about this. For every moment you trade your life, you take that moment and you trade it for something that's realistic, because there's that in you just is not able to bring yourself to take that unrealistic action. You have effectively traded your life for mediocrity. You've traded your life for good enough, because phenomenal, magnificent, oh my gosh, over the top is knocking at the door of your heart in the form of unrealistic. So there's the choice, right? We're always at a choice point. And the choice is, I can take this idea and I can water it down where now it feels like I can do this. I can believe it. It's logical. It's reasonable. It's sensible. I'm okay with this. I had a conversation with somebody today, and they said, well, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. And it's like, do you want to trade those moments for something that you're fine with? Or do you want to trade your life? Do you want to trade those moments, any given moment? Because we will never get that back again. You will never get that moment back again. Every moment you trade for good enough, over the top, fabulous, you will never get that moment back again. When you understand the nature of desire and you realize that it's this life force knocking at the door of your heart, inviting you into more, what is it that you're going to trade your life for? What is it that you're going to say? It's like taking our minutes to the store of life and saying, here are my minutes, and I'm checking out, and I'm taking this experience in trade for my minutes. And it's non-refundable. I don't get to go back. I don't want that. Let me get those minutes back. When you think about that thought of being unrealistic, do you love it enough to say, I'm willing to trade my life for it? You know, again, I'm so celebrating these couple of days as I think back, 5 years ago, we're on the road. We had 2 vehicles, we actually had three. We pulled one. My husband's a car guy, but I was driving a vehicle. My husband was driving a vehicle, and thinking about all of the evidence that was stacked up against us, all of the facts, all the conditions that would keep us from moving to California, Tennessee to California, Southern California at that, and all the reasons why it wouldn't work. And I'm so grateful for both of us, my husband and I, that part of us that became willing to override the part that said Tennessee's good. It was good, but it wasn't soul enlivening. And I just got to a point where I realized I wasn't willing to trade my life any longer to live in a place that was good enough, that I wanted to live in a place that when I walked out my door or I walked in my door, my whole system lights up. I love landing in Southern California when I fly home. I even love the traffic. Well, that might be a bit of a stretch, but I'm really okay with the LA traffic because I know what it represents. And what's really fun is that my husband and I just put in an offer on a house that when I think about this house, I go back to that card where I crossed out 100,000 and I put 90,000. And now I'm thinking about this house where literally it's just surrounded by open space. And it's like, oh, it just absolutely comes alive. And there's not a single thing about it that's realistic. It's like where we are is fine, but I don't want to trade my life for fine anymore. I'm no longer willing to do that. So ask yourself, when you think about your idea, what are you willing to trade your life for? What are you trading your life for? Because you're trading your life for something, and you'll never get those moments back. You'll never get those moments back. So ask, do I love this? In the face of not knowing how, in the face of facts and conditions that potentially will say that this is really irresponsible, nevertheless, do you love it? Do you love it? Do you love it to such a degree that you're willing to trade your life for it? All right, so if you love your life, if you love your idea, put your thumbs up, your hearts in the comment section. Be sure to share this. And again, if you want the article on how to stop self-sabotage, there, I got it. Put the word realistic in the comment section. Okay, so there's not a single thing that you can think up that the universe would say that's unrealistic. It's just not going to happen. So then you change the question to, am I willing to trade my life for what I say I would love, or am I going to continue to trade my life for good enough? Now, so how do we move on that? How do you get moving with it? That brings us to the third step, the third way. How do I get started? You take this delicious, robust, magnificent idea and you start breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. Now, that doesn't mean you're watering the dream down, because you keep the vision in mind and you ask, so what's the step I take today to get started? What's so powerful about this? So my husband and I got very clear within the last couple of months. We've been talking about this since the 5 years since we got here, knowing that the house we're in is a California starter home, and it's a beautiful home. And we knew what we wanted. And we kept going back and forth. Well, maybe we'll just stay here. We're fine. Financially, it's really easy for us. And blah, 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 blah. And I heard ourselves in this conversation. And I said, listen to what we're doing. This is the antithesis of everything I teach. We're willing to trade our life for a house that's good enough. And we made a decision. In fact, at the beginning of the year, once again, we sat down and said, that's it, 2018, this is our year. We are making a decision that we are complete. We honor, we bless this wonderful house that started us in California, and we are moving into something that absolutely brings us alive. The power of a decision to really move your initiative forward cannot be underestimated. And when I talk about activating your brilliance, I'm going to bring in the whole process of decision making further down the line a couple of months from now as we're in these themes. But so we began. So what did we start with? We just started going, well, first of all, we just started looking on Zillow and started getting notifications and started going to open houses and began to really define, okay, so what would we love? We had an idea. Excuse me, let me get some water. But what's fascinating about taking those actions, and I got to tell you, Don Schuller once said that most people get stuck at the start. It's like, you know, that once you start taking action, I mean, really serious action on something, you're moving energy. Stuff starts moving. And remember, there's the life force that wants to go forward. And then there's that in you that will fight like crazy to keep you right where you are. So as you're keeping this image in mind, you're asking yourself, do I want to trade my life for this? You're getting a very clear yes. Then you're asking the question, so what can I do to get started? Just what can I do? So right now, write down a single step that you know as you take this step, you're on your way. You're getting started. You can put that in the comment section, write it on your notes. But there's a whole process of what I call scaffolding. It's way too much to get into here. I go deeper into it into my coaching programs. But effectively, it's breaking your dream down, this big audacious idea, into bite-sized chunks. So as you take the step, what you're doing is you're more and more building an identity, building an identification with the man or the woman who created that result. And you're building your believing. Things begin to happen, and the next step and the next step and the next step gets revealed. Now, the discipline, the rigor comes in, is that you stay with that before the facts start rearranging, because, you know, there's that in you that's going to fight you every step along the way. But, you know, the whole question for today, as you're in the process of designing a dream, is, am I being unrealistic? And it's realizing, no, you're not, because you're entering into the holy conversation. And then asking, do I love this enough to really trade my life for it? You know, because I will never get these moments back again. And as you realize that, of course, my dream is realistic, because there's a power greater than me at work by means of this. And then realizing, oh my gosh, absolutely, I would love to trade my life for this. And then being with the question, okay, so what do I do to get started? What can I do? What can I do to get started? And then you just start moving your feet. And watch as you do that with everything else, you know, that I teach, your results begin to transform. All right, so let me go on to, if you want the article to stop self-sabotage, comment with the word realistic and we will get that to you. So quick recap, how do I know if my dream's unrealistic? Number one, know that your dream is realistic because you're dealing with the power, you know, that created the universe itself, and realize that your dream, the genesis of your dream, of your desire, is from this life force itself. Number two, change the question to, am I willing to trade my life for this idea, this initiative, this possibility? And as you hear a resounding yes, because you love it, doesn't mean you know how. In fact, if you do know how, it's too small, that you then work with, okay, I'm doing this. So what can I do to get started? All right. So I am actually living another part of my dream life. My husband and I are taking off for 8 days diving trip. We're scuba divers in Belize. We're taking off on Thursday. So next week we will find a favorite oldie to run and do a recording, and then I'll be back live in 2 weeks on May 22nd. And if you are not getting the live reminders, if you're not on my messenger list, Severine, I don't know what they should put in there, but you know, put the word list in there, and my assistant will go back and make sure that you get added to the list to make sure that you know when I'm going live. All right, it is my joy to serve you and your dream. As I'm seeing the faces on here, hey Iris, really glad to see you. It is always such an honor to be able to hold the space for the even greater degree of magnificence that's seeking expression by means of you. I know that as you say yes to what feels unrealistic, truly, it's your highest form of service to the body of humanity. It is my joy to be able to be your partner in believing. Thank you for Iris. We are planning on having a fabulous time. My name is Felicia Searcy, and your dream is my passion. God bless everyone. See you in 2 weeks. Mwah.